it's Stephen here at Bland Designs, and I mentioned that I would show you where I volunteer doing my educational tours at the Robert McLaughlin Gallery here in Oshawa. And this is what it looks like from the outside. You can see we have a sculpture that was done by Douglas Copeland, who's a famous Canadian sculptor, painter, and writer. And just over on the other side of the road is City Hall here in Oshawa. And right behind me, and I'll probably get some sunlight in this, is the McLaughlin Library and the parking lot. So there's a 360-degree tour of the whole thing. And the Robert McLaughlin Gallery is named after a very important person in Oshawa. Actually, the McLaughlin family are very important to Oshawa. They donated the money and a lot of the paintings that I'll talk about later inside to the establishment of this art gallery. And this marks our 50th anniversary this year. So I'll take you inside and you're going to see our abstracts and a whole bunch of other things and stuff I'm going to talk to the kids about today. So this is the inside of the art gallery, and this is our front foyer. This is Steve, our security guard. Without him, we just could not operate. He's the hub of everything here. This is, say hi, Steve.
Hi, I have all the keys.
He has all the keys, so he's a very important man. But you can see here, originally when the art gallery was built in 1968, this part did not exist. In fact, this part was the outside wall of the art gallery. But in 1987, we expanded the art gallery and created this atrium, which is difficult to get into this shot, but let's in the light. And we have down here the store. So let's move our way on up to the first gallery, which is called the Isabel McLaughlin Gallery. And this gallery is named after one of the children of Colonel Sam McLaughlin, who in her own right was a great Canadian painter. The lights will come on here in a minute. There they are. And she was very fundamental to the establishment of this art gallery. She donated money and she donated a lot of paintings. She had some group of 7 that she donated, and many more as well. Now, of course, you're not going to see any group of 7 in this display, in this gallery. This is all abstract, because right now we're all about abstract painting. Now, this room usually houses our permanent collection. And in fact, everything you see here on the walls is part of our permanent collection. We have over 4,500 paintings in our collection. Paintings, works of art, sculptures, that kind of thing. Every year, this particular gallery gets changed. And except for this year, because this is our 50th anniversary, this gallery's been changed several times. And as I said, right now we're featuring abstract art, 100 years of abstract art. We own all of these paintings. They're all Canadian, and especially the Painters 11. The Painters 11 are very important to the establishment of this art gallery. Alexander Luke, who was also a McLaughlin, but Alexander Luke was her maiden name and her painter's name. She was a good friend of Isabel McLaughlin and eventually became a sister-in-law, and she donated and willed to us a lot of the Painters 11 paintings. Now, the Painters 11 were a very important group in Canadian abstract art. They were established in the middle of the 1950s. It only lasted a few years, but there were 11 of them, and they're all local artists. But as local artists became internationally famous for their experimentation in abstract art. Abstract art at the time was not really considered a legitimate form of art, and they helped to legitimize it. So you can see here we've organized all of this according to the decades. Right now we're looking at the 70s and the 80s. And there are some quotations and famous sayings and expressions from each time period just to give people a feel for what that decade represented. And the art itself also, in its colors and its shapes, its lines, its form, all of these represent the time period that they come from as well. So you can see this is a very large gallery. Now let's move on down past this gallery and we'll take a look in this hallway. Lights should come on, here we go. In this hallway we usually feature other artists, single artists, and this particular artist is a photographer, and she is also a Canadian-born photographer, and she won our annual RMG Exposed. And as part of her prize, she gets to have her own show. And this is her show. And these are some of her recent works. And they're done from Brazil, because she's been living in Brazil for quite a while. And she's been studying a certain little place in Brazil. I can't remember right now what it's called. But these are very interesting photographs. This little nook in here is a place where we allow patrons to the art gallery to come in and play. And we have different stations set up. Right now we're featuring sculpture and abstract sculpture, so they can put these pieces together and create their own work of art. This is called the upper loop, this gallery. And in the upper and lower loop, which you can see through that doorway just over here, both galleries are named after Alexander Luke that I mentioned before. And in here, we commissioned 5 artists to go around Oshawa, they'd never been to Oshawa before, to take pictures of Oshawa from a point of view as a visitor, which they were, and to capture what we're all about. So we've got quite a variety. We have a multimedia presentation here about Oshawa. We have some Indigenous people, kind of stream of consciousness. Each one of these tells a story. And in the gallery below, we have some pictures of various spots in Oshawa. And the lights should come on here in just a minute. There we go. So we have this display, and these 3 pieces go together. And the artist here went through the Henry House Museum in Oshawa and pulled up various pictures from the collection, and that's what this video right here is showing you. And she reproduced some of the pictures to create this sculpture, which represents the categories these pictures are put into in the museum. And there's 20 categories, and so you can see it looks like a bar graph. Depending on the size of each section, that's how many pictures are in that display. And I believe this represents about 7,000 different pictures. And those pictures have been donated by people in and around the area. And so you can see some of the other work here as well. So we're going to move our way back up into the upper loop. And it's a little darker in here because of this video that's being played. It's a very interesting video. And in this hallway, we have the Thomas Buckley collection. Thomas Buckley was a collector of old photographs in and around the area and across Ontario as well. And he willed to us over 4,000 of his pictures when he passed away. And so this is basically a permanent gallery, but it changes all the time with some of the pictures from his collection. And they're usually done on themes. This particular one is done by the Senior Citizens Camera Group, who were showing some old pictures of people in the area at play, like sporting events, fairs, that kind of thing, leisure activities. And they took some modern photographs to that will go along with the older photographs. And just around this corner, we have what we call the Imagination Station. And this is where little kids can come in, and we're cleaning up the area right now. Say hi.
Hi.
And this is where they can come in and can play with manipulables. Manipulable, is that a word? And put different things together, sort of to stimulate their creative imagination and to keep them out of their parents' hair while the parents are looking at art. This is the R.S. McLaughlin Gallery, and we're continuing with our theme of abstract art in various forms. And these are up-and-coming new artists. I believe the oldest artist in this collection is only 35 years old, and the others hover around 30. So they are now experimenting. This is taking abstract art to the next level, and they're using different forms of media to create their abstract art. And this, of course, we would know as mixed media. It's quite interesting, quite beautiful. I especially love these huge, bigger than life ones. I'm moving back here so you can see them. And there's some video as well. A lot of people think abstract art is just limited to a canvas, but it can be in other media forms as well. And each one of these 5 artists represent a region of Canada. So here we have the Western provinces represented by this artist. On this wall, this is BC and more of BC. Here we have Eastern Canada, And the big ones are Ontario, and the ones on the far wall, those represent Quebec. So you can see this is a very large gallery space, and this is, again, all the spaces with the exception of the Isabel McLaughlin one, the very first one I showed you, change on a regular basis. This display right now I think is up until about September, and then it will become something else. So this is all the main floor of the gallery, and again this is another view, and you saw this view in my video about RMG Fridays. But why don't we head downstairs and I can show you some other creative spaces as well. So we go down here, and I'll try not to trip, and we're heading towards Gallery A. Now what Gallery A is we have artists in residence for about a month period. They select 10 each year, and these artists get to use this space to create here when they're here, and also to display their work. So right now, we have a display, and this happens to be the seniors art competition, senior citizens art competition and exhibition, which we have every year. But these are not the artists that are actually in the studio. The studio is just off of here, and it's a couple of artists who represent the, I believe they're called the Durham Black Artists Collective, and I don't know if I can get you in here now. No, the door is locked. But we can go back outside and take a look through the window. It's kind of like looking at an artist in captivity when they're here working. Now, it's only just 9 o'clock this morning because I had a tour at 9:30, so there's nobody really here working. But I'll give you a peek. Here's their bios. And I'll give you a little peek into the art lab. And so you can see, right now the lights are off. You see a sample of some of the work that they're working on. They're actually right now working on a collaborative project and creating this while they're here in the art lab. Then we have some other spaces that are sort of multi-purpose. This is what we call the lookout, because it looks out over a ravine back here. You can sort of see that partially through the blinds. We have a little kitchenette, and we often have our meetings in here, and this can be used for presentations. There's a screen that will drop down from the ceiling on that far wall, and so it's a very useful space. And then we have a lounge, again, another multi-use area. And in here we've got some catalogs of art, past art exhibitions, useful information, and it's just a place where people can sit, relax, have a coffee while they're here at the art gallery. It's also another small display space. We do have a studio, and the studio is what we'll be using today when the kids come in. I do the tours, but there's another group that do everything else, and I'll turn on the lights so you can see. But this is our studio. So it's a place where the kids can come and be creative. They're usually given instruction in some form of art, and away they go. So you can see, this is really a going concern. There is another floor, but that's just administrative offices, and also it used to be a restaurant, but now it's a facility where that has kitchen facility and tables for large events. We have a lot of weddings booked here. So this is what the Robert McLaughlin Gallery in Oshawa is all about, and you've heard me talking about it so much, so now you can see what it is. There's Steve at the top of the stairs again, checking his keys, no doubt. Are you checking his keys? Oh, he's hot off the press. Hot off the press. So he's a man of many talents. So I hope you enjoyed this tour, and you know, if you live in the area, do check us out. RMG Fridays, as the sign says, is the first Friday of the month. Always a good event, always a lot of fun. And of course we are the home of the Painters 11, as I've already mentioned. And it's a great space, and you know the best part about the whole thing is, it's free. So come on in, it's always changing, and check us out. And I'll talk to everybody later.